What does night mean, my master?
It's a disaster. Skywalker, we're after.
What if he can be turned to the dark side?
Yes, he'd be a powerful ally. Another dark Jedi.
He will join us or die. We got Death Star. 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 We got Death Star.
So with that, hi and welcome to After the Hype. With me, your host, is always Brian Dressel, and with me, as always, is CHEWIE Darso.
Hello.
Jonathan Hardesty.
Yep.
And Ryan James.
Yes, sir.
Today's special guests are Jeff Elster.
Hi.
You might remember him from, it was Furious 7, right?
One
Yep.
of the Furious movies.
Yep. And Amberlee from our Star Wars episode. You might remember when she was such a great guest.
Hi, everybody.
Because she loved Star Wars so much.
She made her watch a seventh one. Against the grain, Amberlee.
Yeah. Against the grain, Amberlee.
You'll be surprised about my opinion on this one, too.
I'm so excited for it.
Clickbait if I ever heard it.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to get started with Where Have You Been Doing? I'm going to go first. I read Scott Snyder's last issue of Batman.
Oh, man.
And
It is the best farewell comic I've ever seen anyone write. If you could have not read a single one of his books from the beginning to the end, you could still pick this one up, and it's just like a very, very fitting farewell to the character and to the book he's written, and it is just fucking gorgeous.
Dude, I love the way he ended it the same way he began with Gotham Is.
Yep.
It's
Straight
straight
so
from the
fucking
newspaper.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited for you to get to the end of Secret Wars, because that might be your second favorite farewell ever written to the Fantastic Four.
That's a tough follow-up.
Yeah.
That's it for me.
For my Where Have I Been Doing, I'm just going to go with something I actually talked about before. But this time I got to experience it with my parents. Batman versus Superman.
I was wondering where that was going.
Yeah, that was a weird intro.
Yeah.
Got to experience it with my parents.
It was like a Google search. Like so many different options just popped in place of what you were saying.
My parents were in town last weekend, which is why I wasn't on the other Hypetizer. And we took them to see Batman versus Superman. And we gave them the little rundown of, this is the things that people had problems with it. It's pretty much a prequel film, but like a big old like menagerie of things in one little film of all these other films that are about to happen. And with that little rundown, they enjoyed it a lot more than they would have otherwise. I kind of wish we could have had that to a lot of people. It'd be like, just so you know, this is a lot of setup, and you're going to be confused, but it's going to be worth it. And just on the rewatch, I loved it just a little bit more, actually. Specifically for Wonder Woman. I'm so pumped for the Wonder Woman film now.
Oh, yeah.
Like, just her theme music. I need to buy that song.
All right, I'll go next. I've gotten back into Elder Scrolls Online, the MMO from Bethesda, sort of. They kind of outsourced it to a different company to help them with it, and it's very much an MMO, not as colorful as WoW, but still very fun. And I'm having a good time with it.
This week on Ryan's Comic Corner, I'll tell you guys about what I've been reading. This week was the end of the spring Marvel crossover event, Standoff on Pleasant Hill. The concept was that Maria Hill and S.H.I.E.L.D. had gotten a cosmic cube and were kind of rewriting existence without people knowing. They built a little town where they put all the prisoners and like mind wiped them and made them think they were like average Joes watering their lawn when really they're like Baron Zemo and so on and so forth. And kind of like, I think it was a nod to the summer movie, but that Bucky was a main catalyst to this whole event, and then Steve Rogers comes in, and it was okay. Far better than that is the current ongoing Spider-Women crossover, which is Spider-Gwen, Silk, and Spider-Woman, Jessica Drew. They're like jumping back and forth between Spider-Gwen's Earth 65 and the Marvel's Earth 616. It's pretty cool. And they're like, I love the way that Spider-Gwen has been rewriting all of Marvel's characters, like Frank Castle, Matt Murdock. They introduced Dr. Octopus last week, which is awesome. And they just made him like totally different. How about you, Jeff? Where have you been doing?
I've been going through watching Stargate SG-1 for the first time.
I love that
so
show.
old.
It is really old.
So good.
And
MacGyver's
not bad
the best.
at all. And MacGyver is the best part of that show. And I just finished season 9, which is the first season basically without him, which has been less enjoyable to watch.
Yeah,
So-
he really brought so much charisma to that show.
Yeah, seriously. And he was like the counterpoint to everyone being like, oh my god, the Stargate's such a serious thing. And then he would make a joke. He was the comic relief. And like the guy that they would do all the exposition to because he was also dumb. So like, but he was the leader, but also dumb. So they'd be like,
So how does Inception
he's like,
work?
wait, don't explain it in scientific terms. English, please.
And
Let's
it's so
do
nice
this.
that they had a male character for that.
Yeah, and he was great, and he was So seasons 9 and 10, which are the last two, don't have him in it. So I'm not looking forward to finishing it, and I've been putting it off. But the first 8 were awesome. I really, really enjoyed it.
You know, once you're done with that, you can graduate to Stargate Atlantis.
So should I?
It actually got good.
Okay.
It's really kind of sci-fi on like the Sci-Fi Channel sort of quality at the very beginning.
Okay.
And then it goes higher.
Okay.
It was another one of those shows that.
So you're saying if I persevere through like the first season?
Yep.
Yeah, but anyways, liked them a lot. The first 8 seasons, awesome.
Amberlee, you're sitting there with your arms folded. Like, I totally don't have a comic book or sci-fi show to talk about.
Well, true to form, most of the stuff that I've been reading about or seeing are really disturbing and disgusting.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah.
So I know a lot about sex-based homicide investigation now. If we want to talk about that, that's really exciting.
Nice.
Also,
Can we add that to the show notes?
Sure, absolutely. Let's see. Also, there's a lot of polygamy and polyamory in my wheelhouse currently, which is exciting.
You're participating in? I'm just thinking about that story you told
The
me.
Magicians. I read The Magicians and hated the book. It was terrible. And then I started watching the show, and it is significantly better than the book.
That's
I like their
interesting.
advertising campaign.
We had
Their
somebody on
posters.
earlier who said that it was absolute garbage.
The
The
show?
Yeah, but
Well-
Versus the book?
Not from
I don't-
reading the book.
I don't think she read
Oh.
the book.
If you had read the book, you would feel like,
You'd appreciate
wow,
the show.
look at
Look
what
what they did with the source material. Amazing. They skipped all that weird bullshit that happened in the middle there and really like streamlined the story, and like those characters are way better than I thought they were in the book.
You know,
It's a matter of perspective, totally relative.
It's totally true. Actually,
Yeah.
my intern was really obsessed with the show, but hadn't read the book, and he wanted to get it. I was like, "Don't buy it, please don't buy it. Here, take mine." And he said that he got like 30 pages in and was like, "You're right, I can't finish this. Thank you for not making me buy this. It's really bad."
All right, we're going to get started for
Oh,
today. Yeah, we're going to move into the whole reason we're here, which is Star Wars: The Force Awakens.
Da-na-na-na-na-na.
I'm going to get started a little with the numbers really quick.
They were poor, right? Like,
yeah,
this
it
movie
didn't.
do
It really
good.
just didn't do very well.
This is it. That was it.
For all the
The-
hype that this movie had,
Right. I mean-
hence the name of the show, you know.
To be fair, it did not do as well as Disney wanted it to do, which is
Apparently
hysterical.
nothing
I
I
does.
don't
Possibly
think
be true.
a movie ever does as well as they want to.
that's
Everyone
true.
wants
Disney-
$1 billion.
Disney is like your parents.
They got $1 billion.
Yeah,
It's
but
like a
they-
couple of billion.
they
Pretty
wanted,
much.
Wait,
like-
let's hear like the number.
So
numbers.
it
I'm
cost
curious.
$245 million to make, which is I think
Actually, that's decent.
Is
that's
that with
it.
print and advertising, or is
No,
that was just
that's
the
just
shooting
production budget.
Okay.
Yeah.
God, the advertising
wow.
budget.
And then worldwide, it made $2,065,932,508.
Do you think they'll make another one?
They're fine.
I think so. Yeah, I think they'll do all right. The problem is, at least in Disney's point of view, if you look at the worldwide numbers, it did not beat Avatar or Titanic.
Number 3 might as well be
number
last.
3, and they really wanted it to be number 1 of all
Yeah.
time. And it is domestically. It made a fucking billion just inside the country, which is very impressive, I would think. But whatever.
Well,
Sometimes
maybe they should have made a better movie.
Oh. Wait,
It just like exploded with.
hold her back.
All right, so I'm going to read the review really quick for today. It comes from Metacritic. Timmy777. This one's probably going to feed.
Favorite reviewer.
He's a good one.
He's a keeper.
Oh my God,
follow
is he
him
a
on
keeper? So
Twitter.
here we go. Feminist political correct garbage, weak villain, illogical fight scenes, broken script that makes no sense. I don't know how they even consider this. I don't even consider this a Star Wars film. Worst Star Wars film ever made. Broken, a total lemon. I don't even know how they approved the script or who gave it approval to be released. It's total garbage.
I like-
0 out of 10.
That
What
is
was he,
such
where
a
was he
good place
hiding
to
in the
start.
90s when they made prequels?
Hold on a second. You said broken a lemon?
Yeah.
Yeah, that word choice is amazing.
I think
Broken
my
lemon.
favorite
He
part of this
actually-
review is the I don't consider it a Star Wars film. Worst Star Wars film.
he actually touches on some valid points.
He does.
He
Yeah.
just doesn't flesh it out, and he sounds like a dick.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So
right,
freshman
right.
college composition?
Yeah. He
Angry
made,
Star Wars fan.
If it was actually feminist and politically correct, maybe he would have something going for him. There.
Yeah.
Well,
But I would argue it is neither.
Great. So
Sexual
this is going to be a
homicide.
lot of fun for you guys. We're doing the breakdown right now. And since we have 2 people on, we're going to have 2 people do it at the same time. Because that's my favorite version of a
So
breakdown.
literally talking over each other.
Literally talking over each other. You both get the chance to break down the film. 30
Okay.
seconds to say everything that happens. Are you both ready?
No.
No, I fell asleep in this movie so many times.
This is going to go great.
Tell us about your dreams while Jeff tells us about the movie.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, if I were going to rename this film, I would have called it The Force of Sleepins.
That's so sad.
I worked on that really hard.
I don't even know if I could like run through the plot from start to finish.
Well, good luck.
Okay.
So 30 seconds. Ready? Go.
We're introduced to a bunch of
So
characters that we can't
there's
remember or get to know
a
very
map
well,
that
and then
they
we
need
get
to
to
put
see
together.
the original Star Wars
Kylo
characters.
Ren wants
Yay!
it, the
And then there's
Resistance
this
wants it, the
robot,
droid
and it
runs away with it.
should be sucking up dirt, but it doesn't
And Poe
somehow, and
and
can
Finn
keep
meet.
going, and who knows?
They
And then
try to
there are
get the droid
explosions.
back. They meet Rey.
And then I slept for a few minutes,
And then they blow up the Death Star.
and then they blow up the Death Star. Is it the
There's
Death Star?
nothing else between that and the Death Star part, right?
So you both had 5 seconds left,
Whatever.
but you both did so horrible. I'm going to count that as a failure.
I wasn't prepared.
So my insult to you, because I get to insult you if you don't do a good job, is that you are both as bad as the prequels.
That's a real insult.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I've decided to start making the
The
insults
costuming in
movie-themed.
those are good, I see.
At least there's that.
That's all I'm here for is to be the pretty face. You can tell that because this is a podcast.
All right, so where we're going to get started with this today, I figure is going to be the best point. We're going to have Amberlee talk about what worked and didn't work for it, because the rest of us around the table are Star Wars fans. So I
Yeah.
think this movie will have a little bit of like, even though we know there's problems with it, I think most of us at the end of the day will end up going, well, it's still Star Wars, so I liked it for what it is. And for somebody,
I didn't feel that way about episode 1, though.
fair point.
Okay.
I can't argue with that.
Yep.
Although I will, I can't today because we don't have time.
That's fine.
That's the very important thing about Star Wars: managing your arguments.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's,
totally. It's true.
It's choosing your battles.
Yep.
Also expectation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're gonna start. Amberlee, what worked for you in this movie? What did you actually enjoy about
I
it?
like that you're starting with that so much. This is going to be a challenge.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
You can get something.
There's gonna be something in there. I really liked the little old lady character with the goggles. Yeah, man, she was adorbs.
Where's my boyfriend?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cute.
Oh yeah. I really liked that about it.
Wow, is that the end of that?
I could add like 2 things to that.
I can't think.
Yeah.
I really, it's like it was an action film, and I like action films, but I didn't even think it did a great job at that.
No, it didn't.
You know, like I was like thinking, it's like maybe if I had watched this in the theater, this would have been a better experience because at least then the flashing lights. But then I was like, well, then I would have paid $16 for this, and so
I mean, to that point, I actually liked it better at home.
Yeah,
Like, I actually liked it better in my own, because maybe like I posted about this on Facebook way back in the day. It felt more like Star Wars to me, being able to watch it in my living room as opposed to in a theater. And I know theaters
get
are the best
that.
way to see it, but it just
Because most of the time that Star Wars has been around, you've probably watched it in your house.
exactly,
All
yeah.
6 movies.
It could
Yeah.
be that,
Yeah.
but it's also like this is shot for the small screen.
It was.
And we can get
J.J.
into that.
Abrams
It really
does
was.
that. Yeah.
And it like any trailer I saw for it was great on my TV. And then I got to the movie and I was like, this is not fun to look at. And then I watched it.
I'll argue
home.
with that. Okay, so I agree with you. There was definitely the cinematographer for this is like Abrams' cinematographer.
Yeah.
So
That's
that means,
really
like,
unfortunate.
Which it is, but I mean, he did a good job, I thought, with Star Trek. But Star Trek is more meant to be like a TV show.
Yeah.
Right.
So he kind of made sense for the Star Trek movie, and I thought he did a
Right.
good job with both of those. But then you look at this one, and it's like, granted, it's not the most well-shot film in the world. That doesn't mean it's like uninteresting to look at.
but
He
it
did
has
a good job with it. Like,
but
the
it has its
composition was
moments.
fine. It just wasn't great.
Well, and it has a caveat too that there are moments. There are moments that are really, really good, next to moments that are just pedestrian to look at. And
Yeah.
I think like I just got bored until I saw those scenes visually.
Like one of the things I thought is like there were like good jokes that were then poorly timed.
Yep.
It was like that was almost funny.
Yeah, the
like,
editing was I think was the weakest part of the film.
Yeah, and so it's like there was all these, and I think that in a lot of ways, like you were saying, there's a lot of things that it was like, oh my gosh, that was almost good.
Yep.
You know, and then it was just like slightly not where it should have been.
That's what I was.
You just described how I feel about the movie.
That's my feelings towards Abrams in general. Like, he's a great director and everything, yes, but most of his movies are just fine.
So he's done Star Trek and what else?
He did like Super 8. He did.
I really thought he did a good job on the Star Trek ones, though.
Yeah,
he did,
but
I thought about the Star Trek
but
movies
that's
are
one
great.
of the problems that I have. Like, I had so many reservations by them choosing Abrams going into this because largely he did Star Trek. And as a person who has been on both sides of the divide, as in fandom, they're so separate.
Yeah.
If you shouldn't mix them, and he should have been disqualified immediately because he did Star Trek.
I disagree.
I disagree.
I think that the Star Trek movies were nothing like the show.
Right.
Yeah.
It didn't even
But
have
that
the
doesn't
spirit
matter,
of the show.
that
in
he
my
still did them.
opinion, in that those movies were fun action movies.
Right.
And that's kind of what Star Wars
It's supposed to be.
is.
Well, the thing is, but Star Wars also has more heart to it than that, and
Totally.
he
And
missed
so does Star
that.
Trek,
He
yeah.
lost. He didn't.
So
the
then
same
maybe it's
problem
not that
with
it's just he
Watchmen.
did Star Trek. Oh, yeah.
The watching the movie,
Yeah.
you lost the heart.
But
Right,
here's
right.
here's where I'll also counter is that as far as picking someone who could capture what people loved about Star Wars in parts, they picked the right person who can capture how you felt. He's a nostalgic director in a way.
He's a feely
so like
guy.
he's a feely guy, and he.
It felt
I mean-
like he was winking at me this whole time when I was
Yeah,
watching the film.
but he
Oh
was.
my
He
god, there were
was.
so many nods to fandom and so many
Yeah.
it was like masturbation.
It was.
and
and
you
I-
should-
I haven't even made it through any of the movies.
I'm hoping that he had to get that out of the way to kind of reset the tone for Star Wars, and that
Which
they're going
is-
to let
That's
episodes
what
8
Jeff
and
said.
9 go
That is what he
wild.
has been saying.
Yeah.
He did say that it was supposed to feel like A New Hope.
Yeah.
Specifically to try to get rid of the prequel taste in their mouth. But I don't think that was the right way to go with it, personally.
Yeah.
I feel like
I agree.
It's like if I go to a bar and a guy buys me a really nice drink and I enjoy the way it tastes, if he's winking at me the whole time I'm like drinking it, I'm not going to enjoy it.
What's in that drink?
I just have a condition.
There's
Wink, wink, wink.
rupees in this movie.
It was probably three winks too many, because watching it on, this is probably my 4th time at home, and I realize it's not beat for beat A New Hope. It's not story
It's
point
not.
for story
No.
point, but there are like 10 solid like wink nods to A New Hope that just like totally took me out of it. From I could almost list them. The opening scene being putting something in a droid. The cantina scene doing like
I hated
cuts
the
of all the
cantina thing.
different aliens in the universe. The whole Death Star plans blowing up, ship
That was really
dogfighting.
we'll get into that
It's
at the end
bigger.
of the episode, but that was really I think that's where they lost most everyone.
Yeah,
but
which is awful, because that's when the movie actually started getting good, like for a movie. But then we were like, oh, it's just going to be the end of A New Hope from here on out.
I mean, we'll just talk about it now, because I mean, if you look back at the day when Jedi came out, the biggest complaint was like, another Death Star, really?
Yeah.
How the fuck do you go? Maybe the 3rd time they'll like it. Like,
And they
what
were
are you
even
thinking?
like, oh, so it's another Death Star. And everyone's like, no, it's not. It's bigger.
I wish.
It's
Shut up.
bigger.
It's the size of a planet
yeah.
instead of a moon.
Which okay?
It's a Death
Now here's
Star.
my question: can it move, or did it just eat its own son and now the planet will die?
It
That's
has
the
to move
feeling I got
because
from
right
it.
because
Yeah.
that's how they knew that it would fire when the sun was gone, because
but
it
they
did
say
that
it's a
first
planet.
time.
Planets can't fly.
Yeah, no.
They rotate suns, which they just destroyed.
Right.
Yeah.
So did they just destroy their own base in an effort to try to?
I mean,
Maybe they timed
technically
it so that when
could.
the sun was gone, they flew tangentially out of orbit towards the next solar system.
They actually used the power of the vacuum gap from the gravity that is no longer
That's
there.
what I'm saying. It
to
shot
launch
them
the
out
power,
of orbit.
yeah.
Where they
You know
have to
what?
swim
One thing that
around
was
and-
missing in this film was all of that science fiction.
Well, like that was one of the things about it too. Is like there were so many things in it that it's like, what is the logic behind this? How is this even possible?
Right.
You know, like
I mean, I think we're going to sit here and we're going to defend things that they didn't even think about going into it. But to be fair, it could have been that their entire goal was to suck up that sun and wipe out the New Republic. And they did that. And then it's like, well, our base has served its purpose. We've basically destroyed 80% of our opposition.
They blew up
who we've never
Coruscant.
met.
Then why are they
No,
like?
no.
Why are
Coruscant
they
was
in
one of the
panic to
planets?
leave at the
Coruscant's always the middle
when
planet.
they had an exit
It's the, like,
plan.
They
Washington,
did. I mean,
DC.
Kylo Ren did, but he's a dick, so he left all of his friends on the planet to blow up.
Well, and it's not actually Coruscant. I forget what planet they
No,
call
it is not
It
Coruscant,
wasn't. But they don't
unfortunately.
clarify it. And then
But
you see a bunch
it's
of
part of
people
the
getting-
core. That like,
But was that the
if it's
core
not the core,
planets?
then what did they blow up? Because that's
That's
where
the
the
thing.
Like the new whatever they're called.
the Coruscant's always supposed to be the head of the government in every government, essentially.
Well, yeah, because
But-
this movie didn't follow Star Wars rules. I mean, why would they? To be fair, why would they build their government in the ruins of the Empire?
because
the
it's
Empire
symbolic and it's Star
Coruscant.
Wars, and I feel like I'm
See,
just being stabbed in the face
This is
right
where
now.
Yeah,
this
well,
is actually going to
part
be. You
of-
guys are going to be. You're going to go nuts when I say this, but that's something the prequels did right versus A Force Awakens. Is that
No.
when
They
the
worked
Star
inside
Wars
of-
movies,
Exactly.
the original trilogy came out, it was about this small story taking place in a huge universe. It was Luke Skywalker's this one dude like trying to move through life, and then we got an explosion of expanded universe out of that. They wrote so many books and gave us this deep, rich history of a universe. And the prequels kind of showed us that existed. They're like, look at all these different planets, Gungans, Coruscant, all these
Why'd you
different
immediately
races.
start with Gungans?
Because those are the alien,
like a-
the
yeah.
one alien planet I can think of.
Fair enough.
The bug
Naboo.
people.
They were on Naboo.
Naboo.
Yeah. But just the different aliens and like in mass, not just, oh, there's one dude, there's one Duros in the cantina scene. Let's make up some shit about him. Like the prequels actually showed us other alien cultures and stuff.
Well, there was one analogy that I actually came up with in the shower today while thinking about this.
shower
thoughts.
Yeah, shower thoughts.
Shower thought with Chewie.
And it's like a really like a very specific divide between the prequels and this movie. It's like someone going through life in a way. Like you have this kid who wants to go to college to be the best they can be. And that was kind of what the prequels were, where they were very intelligent, very political, very talky. And for some reason, everyone hated that. And then they're just like, oh, stop it. Stop trying to be more than you are.
Because the story was bad and the acting was bad.
But it was still trying to be something like different and amazing.
That's not what we hated.
And because that's the problem is everyone said that they put down those movies, they put down that kid, and the kid went, fine, I'm just gonna move in with my parents and do what I know. That's what this movie is to me.
Going back from college and just moving back into their parents. I mean, it's like they unleashed this entire Pandora's box of a universe, and then J.J. Abrams was like, oh shit, we just need one lightsaber, and we're going to put it back in the little box, and we
it
need
just went down to the
3
basement
stormtroopers,
and
we're gonna
played
put
with
them in
its
the little box.
lightsabers and went, yeah, this is what everyone likes, right?
Right.
That's how I feel about it.
And that's why I'm almost more excited for Rogue One. And I said this after seeing Force Awakens. I'm like, oh, shit, you guys. Maybe these big Episode 7, 8s, and 9s are going to be like our summer blockbusters. They have to play it safe, and they're going to be the Avengers movies. And we'll get fun little awesome personal stories out of these standalones.
Well, hopefully it's not quite like that. And like with Rian Johnson, I said a couple weeks ago that I was very hyped for the next one because it's Rian Johnson.
Yeah.
And he's got some chops in terms of his filmmaking.
And he knows how to do high sci-fi.
High sci-fi, yeah. And I feel like I like
Looper,
him.
right?
Yeah,
Looper.
Looper.
Yep.
Oh, I like
and then
Brick.
the Brothers Bloom, I think.
Brothers Bloom.
Which was hilarious. I love that movie.
The episode Fly of Breaking Bad, which is, I think, the best episode of Breaking Bad.
Ooh,
Yeah.
the
That is
bottle
great.
episode.
Yes.
Where he's looking for the
So that's
fly.
why I'm not ready
Yeah.
to dismiss it yet. But it does create problems for this one. Like,
So
It
the,
does- yes.
the unfortunate thing is that the director's main job on set is actors and chemistry. So when you're going into Star Wars, I actually thought they gave Rey and Finn like some great chemistry together.
Well,
There-
let's,
there was-
I want to actually start moving
I
into...
actually
go
need to talk about that.
So I just want to say that these characters are going to be set, and Rian Johnson might not have a lot of creative control.
Okay.
Okay.
At what point do they actually develop a relationship in which he cares about her enough to be like chasing her down and all worried about her?
The moment he sees
I
her
think
because she's a girl.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
she's
Right.
the first
Exactly.
girl.
I think that's-
They were
to-
trying to say that in the movie from the very moment she's like, "Don't take my hand. What are you trying to do to me?" You know.
No, and
Which
here's
is
the thing
wonderful.
I will.
I love that
happily-
part.
I will happily defend this because I think they do answer that in the movie. I feel like that was a problem in the script, and somebody brought it up, and they answered it when she's like, I don't remember what her question is. He's like, "Well, you looked at me like I was a person."
Yeah.
So she was the first person who ever actually paid attention to him like a human being.
Because he was a stormtrooper.
So like a lost puppy, he went, I love you because you like me. You will pay attention to me.
Exactly.
I hid under your stairs because I love you.
Yeah, and that was, he was totally Doug from Up. I mean, that was,
Yeah.
he just found somebody who would actually pay attention to him as a human being and went, I need that person in my life always.
And then he like took it to the extreme of what he thought a hero is supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And he's like finding out that it's actually somewhere in the middle
Yeah,
ground.
but he's never. I'll go with that because he's never been able to really think on his own before.
Nope.
He's been reconditioned his whole life specifically, and this is his first like outing as a person.
And I think it is too a relationship based out of it, like started from adversity. So it's definitely going to need to even out in the next one or future ones. Like, that's where you're going to build that character. But like, I could buy it just based off of they're in a crazy circumstance, and of course you're going to latch on.
Yeah. I mean, in my opinion, here's the thing: we're gonna shit on this movie a lot, and I feel bad about that because I actually really
We've already
like it.
shat on it quite a bit.
But I will make the argument that I think Finn is the best thing to come out of this movie.
Yeah.
And I wish it was Rey. I really like Rey. I know cosplayers around the world think she's the greatest thing in the world, but Rey I feel is a very, very, very uneven character who needs a lot of work.
So was Luke.
So was Luke. That's true. And Luke became a wonderful character in later films. So she's not out of the running yet. But as of right now, I go with Finn.
I know that Amberlee and I have a lot to say about Rey.
Yeah.
So I'll say my bit first. On the third viewing of this film, however much I like her character because she has so much potential, and the actress is very charismatic, and she makes me care about her. The way they wrote her specifically, I did start to get really freaking annoyed at because she's good at everything.
Yep.
Right?
She's good at flying. She's good at fighting. She's good at talking. She's good at fixing. She's good at this. How is she? She's not like she's beyond MacGyver. She just can do whatever she wants.
How?
Like how?
So was Anakin.
You,
Yes, but
no,
Anakin was shown
still
to like work on droids all his life as like a hobby, and he would fly around. He's like, I used to shoot things out the side of my land speeder.
Oh yeah,
and
he
Rey
was
was
having lines like that.
I know how to fly the Millennium Falcon and fix it and do all these workarounds, but what I do is tear things off old spaceships.
It makes it imply that she. Well, okay, so the guy who was played by Simon Pegg. What was his name in the movie? Do you remember?
Oh, what is that
I don't-
character's name?
The portions guy.
Yeah.
It makes it seem like he has been watching her his whole life, and he has probably been taking on an Obi-Wan role where he actually loves her and is caring for her on someone's command, but
You're
is
inflecting a lot.
They should
You
have
are
shown that
inflecting
in the
a lot
movie.
because
Yeah.
from my interpretation of it, you have this girl that's like basically been orphaned into like indentured slavery,
Right.
And she's just like picking up scraps, and sure she can do some mechanic stuff, but how the fuck does she know enough to like basically be
because he's been training her
a pilot,
the way
an
that
engineer.
she knows so much about the
You're
Millennium
just
Falcon. It
assuming
implies
that.
no, I'm not. She has so many lines
wait, how
about
are you
how
not?
she knows.
Tell me how you're not
Sure.
assuming
He's
that.
trying to. You guys keep interrupting
Okay,
him.
well, no. I want to get to the core of that because I'm curious
But I
myself.
want to get to the core. What you're getting to the core.
Explain it, Ryan.
All of her
Ryan, explain it. Ryan, explain it.
all of her dialogue with Harrison Ford on the Millennium Falcon is about how she knows that the dude had installed. She knows the history of the Millennium Falcon. She knew that dude had installed the thing on the hyperdrive. She knew she had flown it in training before. She kind of says that to Finn in a loud moment that is pretty well passed over. So like it seems like that guy who gives her portions is almost like an indentured servant relationship, but he's also been training her in mechanics and scavenging and engineering.
I would argue that
fighting.
I think he was. I don't think he cares about her at all. I think he was paid to watch her.
That's fair. So either way, the role
They do
is
show
that
his arm grabbing
Well,
her
that,
arm.
Right.
right.
One takes her as a
That's
child.
all
Yeah.
you. That one moment is all you can infer from. Is the moment from the flashback where you see his hand holding
I would
her.
also
And it's pretty
assume,
fucking
and now
impressive.
we'll find out in later episodes. I think she
Yeah.
was one of Luke's students.
I think
Well, yeah, that's what the running assumption
Yeah,
is.
because I think otherwise she wouldn't know half the shit she knows. I think that's the only way that she can really kind of know it. And they
The
wiped
big
her.
ol'
there is a
yeah.
good chance, and this is kind of from I read a spoiler of episode 8. Now, this is the only thing that I'll throw out there is that maybe her mother was one of Luke's students, and that would explain why she doesn't remember Luke or Jedi training, but also why she's super strong in the Force.
Yeah.
Okay.
But with all those assumptions, since that's all we're doing right now is assuming all those things, just looking at her character in the film without all that, I just feel like they put her on such a pedestal. Like they brought her to the level of like idealism. Like because we want strong female characters. That's what we want. Everyone's feeding for them. Like, we're just like, give it to us. And they gave it to us in such a way that felt, like I said, I'm just repeating myself now, idealistic, where she was plucky, she was cute, she was smart, she was this, she was that. She was everything we want. But so when you give us such a cute, pretty little package, it doesn't feel
Sort
real.
of like a checkbox that a dude filled out.
Yeah.
On like OkCupid.
It's an overcorrection, is what it is.
right.
It's kind of like
There's no
we want strong
character
female
flaw.
characters, so she's the greatest female ever. It's like you can have a flawed female character, and she does have flaws. I know you keep
Pride.
saying there's no pride. She is
way overly
She
proud.
is a little. She is afraid of experiencing new things in a
and
way.
she's
But then
so
she's still.
convinced she can't leave Jakku.
But then she
Like, there's a lot
jumps
of
into
things.
everything head first. She says she can't do it, but then she just goes dive in.
And that's
so
pride. There's nothing I can't do. Like there's character flaws in there. They're just not well explored.
Right.
yeah.
Well, nothing and no character in this is well explored.
No.
They're really
It's-
setting
there
up
is-
the next
there-
one.
Poe Dameron, who's just really pretty and a good pilot,
Well,
but
to
nothing
be fair,
else.
Poe wasn't supposed to be in the movie. He
I
was supposed
know,
to be
but
dead.
it's just so funny because yes,
is that
he
true?
is pretty.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, he was supposed to
What
die in the TIE fighter
the
crash.
hell?
Yeah.
There is no
Sorry.
main character in this movie. There
Nope.
is no like.
It was a bait and switch. Disney pushed really hard to make us think that Finn was going to be the new lightsaber wielder. They put him on the poster. They put him in the trailer holding the lightsaber to say, hey, look at us. We listened to you. We're going to put a female in the lead. We're going to make you think it's going to be the guy. We're going to pull the rug out from under you, and you're going to love it. And then we didn't.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I still love the character. Like, that's, like, we'll go back to it. Like, I really, really like a lot of this movie. I just don't really like it as its own movie. Right. And I think that the biggest problem with it, and especially with hiring Abrams as the director, is he doesn't make standalone movies.
No.
And when he does, they're okay.
He said as much.
Yeah.
He's like, I specialize, basically paraphrasing.
Yeah.
I specialize in making movies that introduce mystery into the story.
Yeah, and
Where
I-
you're like,
yeah.
ooh, what is that? What's that about? What's that about? God, I hope they
he
explain
did.
all that. And so everyone is sitting here saying almost the exact same thing, which is, God, I hope they explain that in the next movie. I can't wait to see what
Which-
that's all about.
Yep.
Which is great.
Which I
but
really,
as
Ryan
its own
Johnson makes
movie,
very
it's
good,
not-
solid
Which
films.
I also
Yeah.
feel a lot
I'm
about
hoping
Batman
he-
versus Superman.
But here's the thing: after many Marvel movies, where like there's always these mysteries, there's always the next mystery. You kind of get wonders like, am I gonna get any satisfaction from the next one,
no,
or am I
'cause,
gonna
I
be
mean,
pushed on to the next one?
I
Right.
can argue with Marvel at least. At least Marvel, each movie is its own movies. There's questions in it, sure, for other movies, but
Yeah.
this one doesn't answer any of its own questions, and
No.
that's the
Right.
biggest problem.
Right.
It's like the entire movie is a setup for another movie, and what the fuck is the point of watching
Yeah.
the movie then?
Yeah.
Well, that's how I feel every time I watch A New Hope. I mean, I love some scenes. The Obi-Wan and Darth Vader fight are great, but I'm like, oh man, I can't wait to finish this so I can put in Empire.
Yeah, but that's because Empire exists.
Right.
So when Star Wars came out, it is a standalone film.
Oh,
Like,
totally.
It has its own beginning, middle, and end. It answers most of its own questions. It leaves some stuff there in case they got their sequel.
Yeah.
This one doesn't do any of that.
Because
And
they
it-
know they have the sequel.
Because they know have a sequel.
Yeah.
But that just it's such a cop out to go like for me the biggest offender of this is when Maz gives Finn the lightsaber. How did you get that? That's a great question and a story for another time. What? Why?
Why?
Fuck you. Just like
Well, technically,
Give us
they
some,
were
like, lore.
being
Right.
shot
Or
at.
something.
It's not a best time to go into a story.
well then don't introduce it then. And
Right.
don't throw in the question of like when they walk away for a second, Maz looks at Han Solo, who's the girl? Smash cut away. Like stop with
Right.
that. Like just if you're gonna don't pose the question because we as audience members are already asking the question.
Like you remember how cool it was to find out through the history of Luke's father through Obi-Wan. Oh, he was the greatest pilot in the
Yeah.
war, and he died fighting Darth Vader. And
Yeah.
then to find out, oh, Darth Vader is my father. Like those are all great things. Great
Yes.
exposition, backstory to all these characters.
It introduces a POV
And-
to it, like, oh,
Right,
so this
yeah.
is Obi-Wan's point of view. Wait, what's the real like?
Right.
Right, but you don't
From
even
a certain point of
wonder
view.
that because in that first movie, which we said was standalone,
We
that
assumed it was true.
conversation is like, whoa, his dad was like, sounds awesome. I hope he goes and kills Darth Vader in this movie
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Instead of, oh, we don't know who your dad is, we don't know where he is,
Right.
we don't know if he's coming back or if he was cool or if he's a bad guy.
So then the next movie, you're like, oh, that's another cool thing
Yeah.
to add to this like list of story elements, and we still know things. It's very weird.
I'm gonna move on.
Yeah, that's fine.
We've been bitching about Finn
So,
and Rey this whole
Finn
time.
and Rey.
We need to talk
Sorry.
about Kylo. Good old Kylo Ren.
Kylo Ren.
Who I actually like, despite his emo everything, I still think he's the best character in the movie.
Agreed.
He's the best looking character.
I like some things about
we
Kylo
get
Ren.
his
I still like
motivation.
Finn more, but
I honestly had to get kind of over. Like I'd seen him in Girls, the HBO show, and I had to get
I
over
hear that a
that.
lot.
Like I had like. When he first showed his face, I was like, "You peed on Lena Dunham."
Different character,
Yeah.
than he was in Girls.
The only
that it doesn't-
exposure.
No, it's different enough, but his face, that pouty face,
Yeah.
and just all I
Sure,
could think
but-
of is just that. And then I got over it after he started doing his tantrums and actually getting into the role. But there was a little bit of taking me out of it.
Jeff really likes his tantrums.
Oh man.
Yeah, because like that
I
was
thought they were
like
great.
the most
He's a more-
defining character action that was done by any character
in the whole movie. Yeah, he had the best character flaws. He
Yeah.
can't use the Force unless he's mad, and he gets mad really easily, and he's like
He's a
misguided.
brat
He's
all
totally
the way
a brat.
through.
He's a fanboy brat
Yeah.
jerk who's like trying to be something he's not. He's just so easy to describe that to me that's what makes him my favorite.
And he has a
character
great
in the
blowout.
movie.
Let's not forget about that.
What makes it interesting is that maybe the biggest threat in the galaxy isn't someone who's super trained, super focused like a
Right.
Sith Lord. It's a tantruming crybaby with a lightsaber and some Force powers. That's the worst threat in the galaxy, and I could
He
believe that.
has more than
Yeah.
just some Force
And
powers.
he
He's
actually
a
has
fuckload
had
of Force
Yeah.
powers.
a
Like
lot of
Donald
training. He just he
Right.
can't focus it.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it's like
And
I
he's
think
on
I
the-
think you
the
can
edge.
infer from this movie or assume that he was trained really well on the light side, and then now is like figuring out how to use the dark side of the Force.
Yeah.
from Snoke. 'Cause-
Snoke is holding back training.
right.
Yeah, we
right.
still don't even know what Snoke is because he's not a Sith Lord.
Do you think he's actually that big, or it's just
It's
the
just a hologram.
They have
Yeah.
said that he is a big character, as in tall, but he's not as big as that. They said probably like between 9 and 10 feet.
Probably like what are the people from the cloning facility
Yes.
in the prequels?
Oh, I'm pretty certain he's a clone.
Oh,
I'm pretty certain.
I just meant the species that runs the cloning facility, like Kaminoans or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
They're tall
Yeah.
and lanky.
one of
That's
the-
kind of what he looks like.
One of the best moments in this movie is the intro, and I loved it when Kylo Ren, we see kind of a new Force power where he actually stops that bolt in midair and
Yeah.
it hangs there. That was
Pretty
awesome. And then when
answered a very basic question I've always had about Star Wars. Like, can the Jedi stop a bolt?
That is
yep,
a great
I guess you
question.
can.
They can also absorb them depending on their abilities. But
so then the old guy, I forget his name, but he says to Kylo Ren, "I knew who you were before you called yourself Ren," and that was like the first cool hint that we got out of it. And then like we're like, "Oh, who is he? Who is he? Who is he?" And then we just see him talking to Snoke. Your father, Han Solo, is here. I'm like, that is the worst reveal to his identity that I've ever heard. Can we like have it revealed when Han Solo calls him Ben for the first time, or can we have it revealed when Han and Leia meet again for the first time?
That's when I wanted it.
Yeah.
When all we needed him to say is, "I saw our son."
Yep.
And it's like, "Oh shit, it's their son."
Yep.
Not.
Your father, Han Solo, is here. You have to fight him.
Yeah.
yeah.
For-
No, I totally agree. That would have been
I also
better.
can't believe I didn't see it coming, like 100% sure, when they cast Adam Driver and stuff.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty obvious pretty early
I
on.
knew they were going to bring in the kids thing because they
Yeah.
had to.
But I thought totally Rey was going to be
But
the
I also
kid.
think everyone is the son of either of the three main characters. So
Yeah,
like,
probably is.
they're all going to be. It's all one family that we're focusing on in this entire.
Well,
trilogy.
I'm starting
trilogies.
to. I'm starting to lean more towards the side that Rey is a descendant of Obi-Wan.
Could be. I'm not sure. For me, I don't really even care at this point.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those things where, like, the more the movie tells me I have to care about who her parents are, the more I'm like, well, I just don't care then. like why is that
Well,
your
and that's
big mystery?
That's the thing is like at a certain point there was too much mystery saturation, so I just stopped
Yes.
caring, stopped
Yeah.
paying
Right,
attention. So when Snoke was there, it's like, who's he? Don't give a shit.
Yep.
Well, it's not that
Like-
I don't give a shit. It's just like I can wait.
Yeah, I can wait.
I'm totally interested in finding out
We're
who
getting
he
a
is and
movie
what Freddy
every
is,
year
but it's-
for how long?
until they stop making money.
We're gonna be.
Until we're dead,
we
for
will.
sure.
All of us here at the table will never see the end of Star Wars.
She
we will
said
never.
that. The
we will never.
executive at Disney said
Well,
that they want that.
I will live forever.
It's because you're researching all
Like
those
it's
three
going to
Still
kill
never
Star
see-
Wars.
yeah.
But she will not watch it.
Another thing on Kylo Ren that I thought this
Probably
movie
when I
did
do.
really well was his voice effects. I mean,
Yeah.
to like try to bring back James Earl Jones, the genius of his Darth Vader, they had big shoes to fill.
It's
and
the best
they did
modulated
the best
voice
they could do.
in cinema in a while.
Yeah.
Actually.
It's better
and it's
than
actually
Bane,
Adam
that's
Driver's
for sure.
voice. I'm pretty
Better than
sure.
Bane.
Oh, I wrote that down. It's better than Bane. You can understand it, and it's intimidating.
Bane, yeah, nope.
But I like what they did with Kylo Ren, and it as an unexpected villain, and
Yeah.
one as such a powder keg, just a wild card. I was like,
Yeah.
that's a new way to take it, and maybe we can get a better sense of what Anakin.
And for me, like those are the little glimmers in there that make me still enjoy this movie and still want to watch it and still because it's still not a bad film because there are things in there that work. It's just there's a lot of things in there that either it's Abrams or it's I'm forgetting her name, Kennedy, Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah.
It's either people like we need to universe build and world build and this sort of stuff. Like, well, that shit's been done.
Right. Yeah. Your job's done.
Yeah.
That
you can stop
cantina
worrying
scene was
about
like
it.
Yeah, well,
unnecessary.
people said that to her, and then she went, "Fuck you."
The problem is, to a certain
I'm gonna
extent,
say that's legacy.
they would have to pay the writers to use those storylines.
Well, that's even
They
if
have
they're not
the
gonna
money.
Be, they have the money.
But they
for
clearly didn't want to spend it because
Yeah.
we saw this movie.
But that's it's like whether or not they want to use the extended universe is fine. Even if you're only using the first 6 movies, still the universe has been built.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to go. Well, this is the First Order, not the Empire. Like, why does that matter?
Well, and
felt
all
that
those
way, too.
details, the writers of those books don't own the details of the planets, the races,
Right.
the particular.
That's all
I'm not even
Lucasfilm.
talking about the books. I don't give a shit about the books right now. They're great books. You should all read them. But
We could have explored those
Some of them.
aliens that we saw in the cantina the first
of them.
time.
Yeah.
We could have get like more of a what a Aquilish, the one of those guys who gets his arm cut off. Like, what are they like?
Yeah.
You know?
Like there's a lot of stuff that was already in the movies that we could have explored that we as fans are already well aware of.
Yeah.
That you didn't need to completely reboot the universe because that's really what this movie feels like to me. Is it's a half television pilot, half movie reboot.
Yeah.
And it's like neither one of those are
TV
Star Wars
pilot.
to me.
Great way to describe
Yeah,
it.
and like that's not okay. Like it's still a good movie, but like we as Star Wars fans who just sat through all those fucking prequels and gave those billions of dollars deserved better. And that sounds very entitled and angry, and I know that's not what I like to do in this podcast.
And it was almost impossible.
Yeah,
honestly.
Right. They had an impossible task.
They did,
I
yeah,
didn't
absolutely.
envy them.
Like it
But,
it
you know.
would have been Spielberg alone.
I
could
have
done
to
it.
say that they have enough money and there's enough fan base that you could just make a good solid movie.
Yeah.
Using the characters you know.
Well, that's
and
partially what they're
building
gonna
on the
do
characters
next.
that you know.
Yeah.
You know, like but
Yeah.
why do you need an entire movie that's a setup of it?
Exactly.
It's literally masturbation. Like when Han Solo comes out the first time, there might as well have been a live studio audience going, "Yay!"
I hated that. I hated that. I saw when the trailer came out and they ended it with that. I was just like, God, I hope that's not in the movie. Because if that's in the movie, fuck it.
I love
Why?
that the whole oh man, some pirates finally took our ship off a planet and we finally captured them. Let's revel in being in the Millennium Falcon and let's hit some buttons before we find the intruders.
It's so silly.
and then let's
Like,
kill the
why?
people from the raid. How dare you?
The biggest waste of talent.
You have
the
two of the
biggest-
most amazing physical actors ever who can do the most amazing stunts ever, and you kill them with a CGI ball from hell.
well,
no one
so
who made the decisions on that
Right.
saw the
This-
raid.
Yeah.
So
or raid
wait.
two.
This hasn't been brought up yet, and I unfortunately think this movie was seriously taken down by Harrison Ford's injury, because I think so much of that stuff was reshot and to frame out his cast and to not move Harrison Ford and not move Chewbacca because also Peter Mayhew's old
Can't
and very immobile. Like
Let-
it really hurt the movie.
Now, can I not be a dick to Peter Mayhew with saying he shouldn't have been in this
Oh,
movie?
I have
want
a
to move
feeling
on to that.
he wasn't as much as we think
He
he
was
was.
the close-ups and the facial puppetry. He
Yeah.
had that, and that was great. He did
I-
classic Chewbacca.
I'm assuming anytime his legs were moving,
yeah,
it wasn't
that's
him.
true.
Yeah.
and
That's my guess.
Because he didn't have a cane.
right.
Yeah. No, I'm serious. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to say the actors I wish weren't in this film. Peter Mayhew,
Poor Peter Mayhew.
Carrie Fisher. I love Carrie Fisher.
Harrison Ford,
She
Mark Hamill.
Oh,
Mark Hamill
Mark
actually
Hamill.
had the best moment in the whole film for me. But I love Carrie Fisher. I do. And I love Princess Leia. They should have recasted because she can't play Leia anymore.
Oh no,
No, it wasn't Leia.
there's no choice to recast though.
No, and just because we're in that scene right now, why is 3PO in this movie? Nobody acknowledges him. He talks to everybody the whole movie, and nobody says a word
Yeah, it
to
was
him.
really
I think
weird.
that's kind of
He's
great. That's
not
kind of
in the
3PO.
movie.
Yeah. Is there just like a ghost of 3PO walking
That's
around?
kind of spot on his character. I like that. Like,
No, but throughout the entire franchise, everyone interacts with him. He
Yeah.
says things and they say something to him. And now
Oh,
is this
yeah.
just like 20 years later, like, holy fuck, this thing will not leave us?
No,
Like,
I think it's the same that Chewbacca kind of like was like, oh, okay, whew, he's gone. I can get on with my Wookiee life. Like
Yeah.
he is just kind of 20 years later is kind of fed up with the bullshit, and that's how everybody
Oh.
feels about 3PO.
What the actually
Is that why he doesn't
I didn't
hug Leia?
I
Yeah.
didn't pick up on this moment, but when they're around the like big conference area, and they're looking at the map, and Leia says to Han, "Don't do that." And he's like, "What?" "Anything." And then she walks off, and then Han looks at C-3PO, and then C-3PO looks at Han and goes, "Princesses." I'm like, what the fuck was that?
She's a general now.
So
Again, such a feminist movie.
like, is C-3PO a sexist now? What the fuck was that?
Yeah, the gender-neutral droid is a sexist.
I was so taken aback.
They could have changed that line to royalty, and it would have had zero sexist
Or he
connotation.
could have just gone, Leia.
Yeah.
I've known her for 30 fucking years.
I was so like, I was so mad. I didn't catch that the first 2 viewings at all, probably because I was ignoring 3PO like everyone else.
If you just go on, like, vaginas and use his, like, auto-crooked arms to, like, nudge him a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I've never seen one.
Well, and his arm was red too, so it's perfect.
Yeah.
Inexplicably red.
How did he lose his right arm? He made a vagina
That's
joke.
another story for another time.
It's in a comic.
It's
but
in the comic. They've already answered it.
Oh,
Because
okay.
nobody
Which
cared.
one?
Yeah.
They've totally.
comic.
The 3PO one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure they wrote that way after the movie had been written, and
Yeah.
Abrams had nothing to do with that creative decision of why
Yeah.
C-3PO has a red arm. He's like, give him a
No,
red arm.
He said that he changed it because he said that it should show that he aged over time, so he gave him a red arm.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
But
The comic was great.
I haven't read it.
How about Chewbacca? How did he age?
Chewbacca's dead.
He got gray hairs.
He did.
Chewbacca's not dead. He
Oh,
is
he's
in
a
the
clone?
books. Fuck. He died in the books. These aren't the books.
Right.
I know.
They threw it out.
Yeah.
He might as well died because Peter Mayhew's too old to play him.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm sorry.
believe
I
he
love
went
Peter
with-
Mayhew, but you have the most recastable character in the entire
So
fucking
easily.
movie.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what they did.
But
Yeah,
you know,
well, they just had
I
him
think
injured the whole time.
We're kind of
almost.
dancing around it, but I think by trying to appeal to this perceived larger fan base and get everything in there to appease for the prequels made a completely mediocre movie.
Yeah.
Oh,
because they gave fans what they wanted, not what they needed.
Yeah.
They
And
gave up in the basement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is like, even as a very self-entitled, angry fanboy that I am, like, I still like the movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like,
Yeah.
I know there's problems
Well, why
with
don't
it,
we-
but I
why
know
don't we shift-
I'll watch it.
Why don't we shift
a
the
lot.
gears to actually the stuff we like? Because there are things in there that I
I've
like
been saying
too.
what I like the whole time.
Yeah.
Like there's things like BB-8
You like
was a
Kylo
wonderful
Ren.
new thing.
Oh, I
to put
can't believe
in
we
the
didn't mention BB-8 yet.
movie. BB-8 was great, but
She's got an opinion.
do you not like BB-8?
I just don't. The mechanics of that thing doesn't make any sense. It's rolling through the fucking desert. It's
Yep.
got 2 pieces, and somehow that doesn't ever get clogged up in all the sand. It doesn't ever get like lint in it. Like
BB-8
how-
is Luke Skywalker.
That is
Yeah.
real. The whole thing is
See-
real with that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
What you
not
don't-
C3
Yeah,
or
but
3D.
but what you're not seeing is the set people who are cleaning it every 5 seconds so that
Well,
it can actually
see,
continue
We're
Back
to
also
Making
not
the sand
seeing.
out
We're
of
also
it.
not seeing hair and makeup making sure that Kylo Ren's hair is perfect coming out of that helmet. All right.
Is that your only issue with BB-8? Because otherwise, I feel
No,
like
no,
it's
no,
like
no, I
the most
actually have-
expressive droid in all of
I
Star Wars.
I have. This is my other problem with him, and it's that scene where Finn's the black guy, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the
I'm sorry.
stormtrooper.
I'm not good at remembering character names, and there's a lot of characters in this movie, so it's tough for me. But so, we've established that BB-8 can communicate with what's the girl's name, Rey.
Mm-hmm.
We've established that BB-8 can communicate with Rey. She understands him. They have they've developed their own relationship, and then they get onto the ship, and Finn somehow convinces the droid, who originally thought that had killed his friend. All of a sudden, he's convincing him not to tell Rey, and there's no reason behind it. And it's like this very expressive thing that can communicate to this girl so easily. All of a sudden, it's just like, oh no, I'm not going to tell for no apparent reason that this guy is not really.
Little thumbs up.
He does the thumbs up. It's the most
just so you
adorable
guys
moment in the whole
know,
movie.
just so you guys
Don't
know,
let that-
though, you keep saying him, and technically, from what they say, BB-8's supposed to be a girl.
Okay.
He's voiced by a man.
2 men.
2 men.
Right.
But they say
that
it's supposed to be a girl droid. That's
Bill
what they
Hader
said.
and Ben Schwartz, are they the voices
Yep.
of him? That's awesome.
Yep.
By the way.
Her.
Her.
It was a big problem that I think they were just trying to rehash R2-D2.
Of course.
They updated R2-D2.
They wanted a new toy. They
think
wanted
that-
something to sell.
I like the character.
I like the character
I get
too,
that
but that's why they made him.
But why a little droid again? What? Give us a little
he was
alien.
a little cuter droid.
Yeah. Give us a little alien person. Give us a
Ooh.
tall droid.
I
Let's
want a little
mix
alien.
up the Chewbaccas and the
I found-
aliens and the droids.
I found all his scenes to be fun and cute, and
Yeah.
they brought a levity that
course
was
they
more
were.
genuine than their forced jokes. Like his moments of levity or her moments of levity were like, oh, I dig it. There's an entry point for me in this, character wise.
Yeah.
And I just liked the design was fun. It was imaginative versus every other droid has like this blocky, we're from the 70s look, and BB-8 was like the first modern look of a droid I've seen in the entire series.
Although it does beg the question now, going in episode 8, why do we need R2 at this point?
To be the hero? I've always said that R2-D2 is the main character and the hero of the entire saga. So
and R2-D2 is a total badass.
He's back. Him and Chewbacca. Chewie's like, all right, Han's dead. You're ditching C-3PO. You and I are going to continue on to move this story forward at every turn.
God, that'd be the most annoying movie to watch ever. Just
I'm down.
If there's no subtitles, I'm not watching it.
That's like a silent movie. Yeah. They don't need to speak.
You know what? They did that in Pixar.
Wally.
Yeah.
They did it in Wally.
Yeah, but Wally
That's
can at least go
Wally.
Wally.
They should make the droids Pokemon. R2, R2, R2. BB, BB-8.
BB-8, BB-8.
I choose you, BB-8.
Again, I'd watch
I was
it.
already in a ball.
I would love if they installed a voice box for BB-8, and even though it is a she, the voice is like, okay, I know what you're doing.
God, if they got James Earl Jones back to voice BB-8.
Like Dr.
Sup,
Girlfriend.
The entire galaxy is your kingdom.
You stole that jacket from my friend.
Why did you finish?
And we will rule the galaxy together.
Damn, girl, you got a deep voice.
I have a cold.
You smoke?
One. I want to go to the very beginning, the opening crawl right after it, that first shot, which is why I got hyped for the movie in the beginning. Like when I saw that first shot where it was all negative space, the Star Destroyer coming in, it was a very different take on the opening shot. And I for these movies, I love their opening shots and what they try to communicate.
With the exception of episode 3.
What was
I forget that one.
Remember
It
that.
jumps into a battle.
Oh, yeah, lame.
Oh,
It's
right.
terrible.
I like the Star Destroyer creep is always the opening shot.
Yeah, and I liked what they did with the Star Destroyer creep. Doing something different artistically and visually with it
Yeah.
was what made everything else a disappointment, granted. But I liked that aspect of it. Like this new force was just dotting out the stars. Like there was just darkness.
Yeah.
There was darkness and mystery head in the right sort of way. I felt the shiver of it.
Can I bring up a maybe controversial topic? Do we still need the space crawl at the beginning of Star Wars movies? That's
You
so
don't need it, but we
dated.
want
I'm going to
it.
go with yes.
That's such a 70s opening.
But
Yeah,
it's
but
also such Star Wars.
I was going to say, if you don't
And
do it, that would be the most noticeable.
Now,
We're going to
here's
have
thing
one
ever.
a year for the
Yeah,
rest
but
of
do
forever.
we have it now? I need it in the episodes. I will
Okay.
not need it in Rogue One. I'm
That's-
sure they're still
okay.
going to do it.
That's my question.
but I don't think we'll need it for Rogue One.
They don't do it in like the other media that they make, like the TV shows.
They do it in the video games and the comic books.
Yeah.
I think
Oh,
for this
really?
one, it was needed because there was a lot of
realize.
stuff that they just
Yeah, we needed to
saved
find,
for it.
We
Like,
really needed to find out how important Luke was to the movie to find out that he's not in the whole fucking thing.
That
Yeah.
space crawl was no importance.
To
Yeah.
me, taking away the space crawl is like taking away the theme song. Like, it's just part of it. It's part of the
We
experience.
could do that too. Do you guys remember the episode 8 teaser that had like that real like new updated sounding
No.
to the credits? It was like very ethereal, still the same melody,
It was
but
the same
different
melody, but
instrumentation.
they added some like minor
and I thought
note
that was
hits
awesome.
in there. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
They do that to the Doctor Who theme for each new Doctor, too. I mean, that's fine as long as you keep the core thing going on.
No, I'm saying I don't think we need a full orchestra playing trumpets and violins to open a Star Wars song anymore. I like that da 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 da. Let's keep that melody.
Yeah.
But let's change it up.
They
Let's
never
dubstep
will.
it.
Never will.
The opening crawl, I was very relieved when that popped up that it was easy to understand.
Yeah.
Because the difference between when you sat down in episode 1 and you're like,
Wait,
what?
Trade Federation? What the
What,
fuck are you talking
what am
about?
I reading?
Yeah.
What novel is this before the movie starts? I don't.
Again, went to college and tried to do amazing things, and people went, ugh.
But that very first sentence, Luke is missing. I was like,
You're like,
holy
I get that.
shit!
I understand what you
that
just
was
what
good.
does
said.
that mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
Every one of the like.
And then I was disappointed by, he's not missing, he went away, and he doesn't want to talk
Right.
to any of you.
He just said deuces and went to his island.
it's not that he's missing, it's just that he ducked out.
He dug out after leaving the most complicated star map ever.
So aside from
Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's great. Aside from the main theme song of Star Wars, I actually thought John Williams did a pretty good job of updating some of the themes for the current
And he wrote some
movie.
kind of new ones. I like Finn's theme. It was a little underplayed. They should have used it a little bit more, but when it's there, it's actually really good.
My favorite is actually the scavenger. The dun 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 dun.
Ray's
Oh, yeah.
theme.
Ray's-
That,
it's-
that was
Yeah.
the one I
It's
remember
before
the
Ray's theme,
most.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
The one that plays when she's...
Lowering down into the Star Destroyer for the first time. That's
I'm talking
my
about the one
favorite.
when she's going down the hill. When
Yeah,
she's on,
that's
like,
what
a
I was
little
thinking
sand
of.
sled.
Oh, okay.
The sign,
Yeah, that's a
because
really
that's
good
her
song.
That's
theme.
Ray's theme.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. I thought
They're
that was
both really good
Yeah.
cues. Yeah.
I mean, shocker. John Williams can write good music.
I heard some people
Yeah.
say that he didn't do much to this movie. Like he just kind of replayed the same Star Wars.
I've said that. I don't think he replayed the same Star Wars. I think most of the new stuff he added to the movie wasn't as memorable.
But
I
as
really
like
liked Ray's.
I liked
but think
it,
about it
but
this
the
way,
first
like-
time I watched it, I didn't walk out of the theater like humming it to myself.
nothing
you know?
really took me out music-wise. It didn't feel like a John Williams. It didn't feel like Star Wars, where you're watching, the first Harry Potter movie, and then the rest of them aren't John Williams, and you're like, oh, they're doing the John Williams with. Now it's the other guy. This felt like it's the same guy, but it still felt like same guy, not like 20, 30 years later.
The Cantina
Like, it-
song was a little weird. Do you remember?
It was
reggae.
reggae.
Reggae, yeah.
Yeah. But like those are nice touches that like it
Yeah.
still felt there was still enough John Williams feel to it.
But they did a great job of, I think, everybody who's like kind of tried to interact with Star Wars over the last 30 years since the original trilogy came out, whether it be read comic books, play video games, we play a role-playing game of it. It's always like, oh, let's take those 8 aliens from the Cantina scene and let's take that music from the Cantina scene and let's rework it slightly. And this movie did a great job of going, guys, that's not the only style of bar in the galaxy. Or the only 8 aliens that exist. So I like that a lot.
Well, they
Well,
had
30
the
years
wolf-
later, it was just a new style of music that got popular.
Yeah.
The first alien you see going into there is the Wolfman. That was in
Yeah,
A New
that's
Hope.
a
That
little nod.
was just an extra mask, and then suddenly they featured it in this one.
I feel like that's the way most of the species
More
from Star
winks and
Wars were
nods.
inferred. They're like, hey, let's go to that cantina scene. All right, what kind of alien is that guy with the dinosaur mask? Yeah, all right, what's that guy?
So
You
we
know?
got some alien heads. We've got the Wolfman. We've got the old creature from the Black Lagoon mask.
Right.
We've got this mask isn't working, so we're just gonna put a hood on
got
and
a
make his
demon.
eyes yellow.
Yes.
Yeah, a demon mask. They're all old repurposed masks from around the set.
completely non sequitur. What if this is like the sequel to Ex Machina?
What?
I've always been saying that. He was so pissed at the end that he just like went to the dark side. Domhnall Gleeson, I'm talking about now.
yeah. now
Again,
he's-
a very
he got so angry,
underused
he's now
actor
Hitler.
in this
Yeah,
movie.
and Oscar Isaac is like turned around too.
With that, can we talk about
Oh.
the amazing actors in this film that played side characters that were totally underused?
Donald Gleason.
So we got the
Amazing.
fighters from the raid.
We
Domhnall
got-
Gleeson.
So
we
mad
got
about
Bree from Game of Thrones, who is presented as a amazing female character who's a total badass.
It's like
and then
2
you point
lines.
one gun at her, and then she just
Yeah.
totally does anything you say.
yeah.
I think they tried to. Oh no, she wasn't good. They're gonna bring her back, obviously. So.
Yeah,
Ryan
because
Johnson
they
said
need.
she will be redeemed.
She needs to be
Good.
redeemed hardcore.
Yeah, because I want to see her without a helmet on. I want to see her do some more badass stuff.
I want to see her fight and not just walk around in a cape.
Yeah.
yeah.
We didn't see her fight.
But
even.
she's a woman.
She has a vagina, therefore she can't fight.
Oh no, she can fight just better than everybody else,
And-
inexplicably.
yeah, unless it's Ray.
Another thing I actually loved about this movie was the choreography. The lightsaber sequences were really, really good.
I
to
liked
me.
it because it felt unpolished. And
Yeah,
that's what I.
that's what I
because
love about
neither one of
Star
them were
Wars.
fully trained,
Yeah.
and that made it really cool. They're basically just using them like big sticks.
Yep.
Super dangerous sticks, and they're
Like,
just gonna whack at
How
each other.
none of them
fact
just
that-
cut their own arm off was amazing.
How have you ever like wielded a sword? Did you cut your own arm off while doing so?
Well, but swords are solid
Almost.
mass. A lightsaber
are-
touches you and it cuts it.
Yeah.
So how did Rey disable Kylo Ren's saber? Did she hit the hilt at the end? Because she was just shoving it into the snow and the ground, and then she like hit it harder
Yeah,
into the ground. And he's like, "Oh, my lightsaber doesn't work anymore."
I don't remember
Hitting
that.
hard into the ground.
That was like how it ended. How their
Maybe-
Chaos
their
editing,
battle
it
ended.
amps up action.
It can't
Yeah.
believe
The battery
it,
fell out.
It can't be that she hits the hilt because that would defeat the entire purpose of his cool little extra poker things, his
Right.
extra hilt handle
All right.
guards, whatever.
It short circuited in the snow. That's what I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Five is
Maybe.
But
alive.
yeah. Okay. All right.
I'm gonna have to move this thing into quotes, otherwise we're gonna be here all day.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm
we,
sorry,
We
but
didn't
no.
talk about the production design at all,
I'm
or the
sorry.
amazing
Okay.
just the reality of it instead of the
or the costumes we want to talk about. But this
her
thing's got to end at some point,
Hold,
guys.
wait. My one thing.
Yes.
Her stupid
Let's do
knot
last
dress.
thoughts.
Her
Yeah.
stupid knot dress would have gotten sucked up in her little motorcycle thing, and she would have died, and she wouldn't have been able to do any of that any of the work that she wanted to because that shit would have gotten caught on everything.
So
there you go.
10 out of 10 for costume design.
And for practicals and keeping to real sets, this movie was 100% awesome.
And so many of the aliens being real.
They did just the visuals, top notch. I'm sorry we harped on so many terrible things and didn't talk about how amazing that was. Yeah. But total props to everything in that regard.
JJ's like
wonderful.
I was all on board when JJ Abrams said that he's going back to practical aliens, and he showed that teaser.
Cool.
And he brought all those amazing, talented people back on, and he gave them free reign to do whatever they wanted to do, basically. As far as I can tell from like the featurette that I watched.
The things that we did love about this movie, we did enjoy this movie. There's just a lot of problems.
Okay, so quotes. I'm gonna go first because I think mine is the most meta quote in the entire movie, and I'm very happy with it. It comes from Han Solo. Who is very much, Abrams, I'll be in your movie, but just kill me.
Yeah.
But so this was his thing. So they're talking about the Death Star, not Death Star, but the Death Star, and he goes, "All right, how do we blow it up?" There's always a way to do that.
My quote is my feelings on the film. That's not how the Force works.
I love that line. I laughed so loud at that.
John,
this line when they were talking about the Kessel Run and how many parsecs, and Rey's like, "This is the ship that made the Kessel Run in 14 parsecs." Han Solo's like, 12.
That makes me think the entire time the story's been 14 and Han Solo's been lying to everybody.
Yeah, no, it was just great delivery.
My favorite quote is another meta quote. It's actually the first line in the film. This might begin to set things right.
Nice.
There's the first wink after receiving the drink.
Yep. No, the first wink was actually oh no, it was after that. Then he puts the thing in BB-8 just like Princess Leia.
A quote that I enjoyed was when Maz said, "Where's my boyfriend?" And not that line was any amazing line, but it was just like it really introduced that character and set that scene up really well and made it feel like there's history. And that was kind of like the first like historical, I'm quoting air quotes, historical thing where it was a character that was outside of the realm of the original characters and there was history implied within them.
Yeah.
My favorite quote was CHEWIE's.
Wait, do you need help finding the characters again?
CHEWIE across the table from you, or Chewbacca?
Yeah, that's the one. I really like that one. That made me laugh so hard, and then I cried.
I do like the part when he's talking to the medic and she's like, "Oh yes, that must have been real scary."
Yes,
you're really brave.
Yeah, so good, so good.
If we had more moments like that in the film,
Another moment was
I feel like Maz's line and that were like that, where you're like,
where the stormtroopers turn around was probably my second favorite moment in any Star Wars movie ever.
It's just the stop. We're going the other way.
Yep.
yeah.
Some things right for sure.
Yeah. So for the review system for today, I hope this will be easy for everyone, but we'll see. 70s sci-fi. Anything from 70s sci-fi. That can be TV, books, movies, whatever you got. It's got to come from the 70s.
I have mine. Alien.
Yep, there's one.
Where you have a film that is really, really great, but the second one's going to be better.
Okay, I wholeheartedly disagree, but
different. But it's going to be better in the way that it's also a completely different film.
Okay.
Because the first Alien film is a horror film. It's fantastic, but then you get into the second film, which is an action film, and then it's just fabulous.
Okay.
And I think we're going to have the opposite, where I think this one was an action film and was really good, but the next one's going to have more meat to it, and it's going to be better.
I hope. Yeah. If they allow Rian Johnson to make the movie he wants to make, it will. I'm going to go next. I'm going with Logan's Run. Because I love Logan's Run, and it is a wonderful film with a fuckload of problems in it. Like, just a lot of, like, why is there a random guy who collects cats in Washington, D.C.? And why is there a robot who wants to freeze people to death? Like, just lots of really weird
Why are
decisions.
women's boobs everywhere?
Yeah, like, why are they running through an orgy right now? Just, like, really weird decisions that have nothing to do with the overall film that kind of take away from it. But at the end of the day, I still love the shit out of that movie.
All right. I'm going to go with Star Wars.
Fuck you. That was going to be mine.
The same movie.
Damn it.
I almost want to say no, but it's such a good answer. I can't argue with it.
A New Hope is the same movie.
In the 77, it was only Star Wars.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah,
true that.
It was. did turn into A New Hope by the end of the 70s, though. I think 79 was the re-release.
Do you want to go next?
Soylent Green, because it turns out it's just people.
It's just Ray. It's just Finn. It's just Luke.
It's just a movie.
The movie's just about. It's just a fucking
movie.
Mark Hamill actually tweeted that months before it came out. He's like, "Remember, guys, it's just a movie."
Good for him. He's awesome.
And we want to be like, Luke, come on.
Be like Luke.
Yeah.
I'll do Return to the Planet of the Apes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just it's a sequel. It's doing what it's supposed to capture the magic.
Stop bad-mouthing Return of the Planet of the Apes.
Brian's biased to everybody.
Oh,
Okay.
Planet of the Apes is like my fucking jam.
Fighting words.
I watched all of them, and
they're so good.
the last two.
Wahoo! The last two. That is a very apt review.
Battle of the Planet of the Apes is fantastic.
So Westworld.
I just watched Westworld not that long ago.
I want to watch it again soon because I heard they're rebooting it. But
it's a TV show.
Oh, TV show.
Jonathan Nolan's writing it.
Good. So I actually think it's a pretty good parallel to Star Wars in general, just because it's someone entering a world that they're not familiar with. Like you could say that about Rey or Finn leaving the stormtroopers, and there's robots. And
just end it there. That's
You
such a good
started
ending.
that's all I got for you. Okay, nice.
And there's robots. Okay, so with that, we're going to bring today's episode to a close. I want to thank everybody for listening. You can find us on Facebook at After the Hype. You can find us on Twitter at ATH_podcast.
Yep.
Yes, I got it. Next week, we have upcoming Hateful Eight, finally. I've been promising it for a couple of weeks.
Yes.
Now it is actually coming out.
We do not have 8 people on the show.
No.
Don't get confused.
Yeah, it will not be hate.
We are the hateful.
You're the
six today.
ridiculous six.
Or 5, I think.
But we all like each other, so yeah. Sort of.
Well, we'll see.
It doesn't make us
We'll
less hateful about other things.
And then as our goodbye today, name episode 8. Everyone gets to name their own episode 8. I'm going to go first. Star Wars episode 8, Luke's Adventure.
Anyone
Okay,
Star Wars Episode 8, A New Hope.
Star Wars Episode 8, The Force makes coffee and brushes its teeth.
BB-8's Revenge.
I'm just going to appeal to myself. Star Wars Episode 8, Thrawn goes to a museum.
That's like A New Hope. You're hoping that they take some good source material and make a movie out of it. Yeah. Can Thrawn be in the next one? One of them? Any of them?
If I could go to an art museum with Admiral Thrawn, I think I'd just be in heaven.
He's so
what do you think
knowledgeable.
about this one? How do we
know.
defeat them?
He really knows his shit.
He really does. And he's like, I killed those people. I killed those people.
This painting was really what set it off with this one. Like
Many
they shouldn't have put
Boffins
that cat in
died
there.
because of me.
Amberlee, you still have to name episode 8.
I know, I know. I was trying to think of something that would make you all cringe, but
You could go
it was gonna
Wrath
have
of Khan.
it
That
was-
would do it.
Let's bring back the skin studies.
Yeah, it was gonna have something to do with Leia being like the focus of it, because I thought that would really.
Where they recast and
C-3PO's
Leia as a
Grand
Jedi like
Adventure.
she should be.
You could just go courtship of Princess Leia.
There you go. That's it. That is exactly what I said.
Because that means we get the
Driving
Hapen
Princess
women, and they're
Leia.
wonderful too, because then it's a planet ruled by women.
Yeah, I like that.
It does not suck.
Okay,
You shut up.
Bye.